of our hearts be always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. Moses was full of excuses. Are you? In today's Hebrew scriptures from the book of Exodus, we find Moses minding his own business, tending the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro. Suddenly, an amazing thing happens to him. The angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of a bush, and he looked. Although the bush was blazing, the fire did not consume it. This amazing event got Moses' attention, and he turned aside to see what was going on. And when God saw that Moses was paying attention, he spoke to him, telling him that he was standing on holy ground, and further identified himself. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Moses was afraid and hid his face, but God continued. God wasn't appearing in a burning bush just to give Moses a thrill, but rather because he had a job for Moses to do. God was sending Moses to Pharaoh so that he could then lead God's people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Now, Moses is a great hero in the Bible, one of the pioneers of the faith whom we all revere. So we might like to think that what Moses said was, "Whatever you say, Lord," but that's not exactly what happened. Of course, Moses is not the only character in Holy Scripture who had questions, doubts, or excuses when God asked them to do something. Sarah laughed. Isaiah said that he was a man of unclean lips. Jonah ran away, and Jeremiah reminded the Lord that he was only a boy. Even Mary, the mother of Jesus, had to wonder, how can this be since I am a virgin? But it seemed that Moses takes first prize when it comes to excuses. Only 2 of his excuses are included in today's passage from Exodus. But if you read a little further, you will see that they did not end there. As I read Moses' story, I reflected on my own excuses to answering the call to the priesthood. His first excuse is a very common one. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? Probably most of us would be tempted to make this excuse if God asked us to do something really important. I did. My response to God's call was, I can't do that. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy, Lord. You know that God speaks to us in a number of ways, and one is through other people. Bishop Gibbs had the answer for my excuse of not being worthy to become a priest at one ordination of a priest several years ago. Bishop Gibbs said, Moses, David, Mary Magdalene, and Saul were not worthy, by any standard we would commonly embrace, to serve God, to minister to God, or in the name of the Messiah. No person is worthy of that. It is not about being worthy, and it is about being called. God had an answer for Moses' excuse. I will be with you. Moses couldn't do it by himself, but God didn't ask him to do it alone. God promised to be with him. That is a good lesson for us to remember. We can do nothing in and of ourselves, but with God all things are possible. Now Moses, of course, wasn't through yet. He questioned God. All right, suppose I do go to these people and tell them that the God of their ancestors has sent me to them, and then they ask, what's your name? this too. God said, Moses, I am who I am. This may also be translated, I will be who I will be. Or in the third person, he causes to be. And just to make it crystal clear, God reminded Moses of what had already been said. I am the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. The Israelites knew who that was, all right, and so did Moses. The next objection that Moses came up with was, but suppose they do not believe me or listen to me. Then say, the Lord did not appear to you. Moses has obviously entered into the land of the what-ifs. We've all heard them from our children. What if the teacher doesn't like me? And so God explained that Moses would receive certain signs from him, which he could use to convince the people. The staff that turns into a snake, the hand that turns leprous, the water that turns into blood. It seems that for every excuse that Moses could think of, God came up with an answer. But Moses tried again. Oh my Lord, I have never been eloquent. I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. I just can't do it, Lord. I'm not a good speaker. Some have speculated that Moses stuttered or had some other speech impediment. But no matter, of course, God had an answer. God said to Moses, who gives speech to mortals, who makes them mute or deaf, seeing or blind, is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will be your mouth and teach you what you are to speak. God didn't ask Moses, nor does God ask us to do something without also giving us the help we need in order to do it. Another one of my excuses was that I am not knowledgeable about the Bible and the Episcopal tradition, as I was a Baptist from my childhood. Well, God made a covenant with me at the beginning of my formation, and that covenant was to take responsibility and to be obedient in ministering to others, and in turn, God would provide the tools for me to carry out my ministry. The tools I needed were knowledge and experiences, and guess what? I have learned a great deal since then, and continue to learn as I continue my journey, even in my retirement. Well, friends, Moses was getting nowhere. He tried the, oh Lord, I am not worthy excuse. He tried the, but what if this or that happens? And he tried explaining why he is not the right man for the job. Now finally, he would have to be honest enough to say what he wanted to say all along. He doesn't really want to do this. Oh my Lord, he cries, please send someone else. But God would not take no for an answer. God did, however, meet Moses halfway. God agreed to send Moses' brother Aaron with him to speak, to be his mouthpiece. You shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth and with his mouth, and I will teach you what you shall do. And so in the end, having used up his stock of excuses, Moses bowed to the inevitable. He went with Aaron to Pharaoh, and the rest, as they say, is history. And not just history, but part of salvation history. That great story of God's dealing with God's people. Brothers and sisters, the way Moses behaves in this story is all too familiar to me, and probably to you. We are a lot like Moses. God revealed himself to us in a much more amazing way than he did to Moses. Instead of speaking to us from a burning bush, God spoke to us by sending his Son to become a human being. God's Son lived as one of us. He sweated, cried tears, and shed blood, just like we do. He spoke our language. God has a job for you, just as he did for Moses, and he has a job for me, even in my retirement. This job applies to each of us individually and also corporately, to tell us all, to the church at large and to our congregation. When I listened to God's call, I learned that my task was to proclaim by word and example the good news of God in Jesus Christ, as a priest, a pastor, and a teacher, to declare God's forgiveness to penitent sinners, to pronounce God's blessings, to share in the administration of holy baptism, and in the celebration of the mysteries of Christ's body and blood, and to perform the other ministrations entrusted to me as priest. If you listen to God's call, you too will hear that you are to proclaim the good news of God in Jesus Christ, that Christians are called to minister to one another and those around them by participating in God's work in the church and in the community. We are just as good at making excuses as Moses was. We're not worthy, so what? Read your Bible and you'll see over and over again that unworthiness never stopped God from using whomever he wanted to bring about his purposes. We don't have enough time. We are too busy. What if they ask something we can't answer? What if they won't pay attention? What if they even laugh at us? Doesn't matter. God is with us. But we don't have what it takes. We're too old, too poor, too small, too whatever. We're just not able. Well, guess what? God is not interested in our ability or inability or even in our disability. God is interested only in our availability. Amen. If we make ourselves available to God, he will use us in ways we never expected. God knows what he is doing, even when we don't. God is faithful, as St. Paul said. He will not let us be tested beyond our strength. And don't even think about that, oh Lord, please send someone else line. There isn't anyone else. No more excuses. We are that someone else, and God is counting on us today. God is also empowering us today. Let us go forth